Imagine you're walking down a street looking for dinner. You see two restaurants. One is completely empty. The other has a line stretching around the block. Without even looking at a menu, you're probably going to join the line. We are biologically wired to trust the crowd. In everyday life, following the herd is a highly effective survival shortcut. It saves time and cognitive energy. But when we take that same social instinct and apply it to formal logic or policymaking, it becomes a severe liability. In the study of logic, this trap is called the appeal to common opinion, or the bandwagon fallacy. It happens the moment we accept or reject a claim based strictly on the sheer number of people who agree with it. Using a biological shortcut to determine factual truth removes actual evidence from the equation, leaving us completely vulnerable to mass delusion. To see exactly why this fails, we have to look at the core rule every valid argument must satisfy, the relevance criterion. This visual represents how logical filtering works. In reasoning, a piece of evidence is only relevant if it has a direct, logical bearing on the actual truth of the conclusion. If a point doesn't logically support the claim, it shouldn't make it through the filter. The appeal to common opinion attempts to bypass this entirely. It tries to substitute head counts for factual evidence. But when mass popularity hits the filter of relevance, it drops out of the equation. No matter how massive the number of believers, popularity does not manufacture a single ounce of logical proof. This popularity illusion often tricks us when we evaluate our own physical safety. We assume that because millions of people perform an action, the action itself must be harmless. Consider the arguments surrounding tanning beds and sunbathing. For decades, a common defense was that these activities couldn't be dangerous because millions participate every week. But if we apply that exact same logic to other behaviors, the flaw becomes obvious. Millions of people also choose to drink and drive every year, yet no one argues that high participation makes a car crash less fatal. The sheer volume of human participation in an activity has absolutely zero power to neutralize its underlying physical or scientific danger. This fallacy also infects how we read data, specifically when we misuse public opinion polls to shape legal and moral standards. Take marijuana legalization. You'll often hear it must be acceptable because a survey shows 60% of adults see nothing wrong with it. But surveys are merely mirrors reflecting current sentiment. They are not microscopes revealing objective reality. Opinion metrics, regardless of how precise the polling data is, are useless for determining the objective rightness or safety of any policy. We see this exact same error in the realm of art and commerce, where the fallacy dictates our cultural tastes. It's common to hear someone claim that a specific album must be good music purely because it dominates the #1 spot for a month. However, sales figures measure consumer behavior. They prove mass marketing reach and purchasing habits, telling us what large groups bought. Economic momentum cannot serve as a stand-in for artistic merit. Commercial popularity and intrinsic quality are completely separate metrics. So how do we logically break away from the herd? If you find yourself in a debate where your opponent is relying entirely on the crowd's opinion, you need a way to disarm them. Your first counter-tactic is to expose the extreme mathematical volatility of public opinion. The crowd is historically fickle. You can track almost any major issue and find moments where a massive majority consensus radically swings in the exact opposite direction in a remarkably short time frame. This sets up a simple rhetorical question. If truth relies on the crowd, does the objective reality of a claim magically change just because the poll was taken in November rather than April? If pointing out the fickleness of a crowd doesn't work, you can deploy the ultimate counterattack against the bandwagon fallacy, the undeniable historical record of mass delusion. We have endless examples of past consensus that were entirely wrong. For centuries, the entire educated world believed the sun revolved around the earth. Later, the global medical standard for curing disease was draining a patient's blood. The logical implication is clear. If the vast majority of the human population can simultaneously hold a completely false belief, then majority rule has no place in a factual debate. Truth is not a democracy. It cannot be voted into existence. Valid arguments demand relevant evidence, not a show of hands.